Hi, Denise.
Hello, Lindsay.
How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm so great. I'm so excited to welcome you. This is Denise Dare, and she is joining us from Southern California today. Where are you exactly? Orient us to where you are.
We are in Cypress, which is next door neighbors to Long Beach.
Awesome. So you and I are 3.5 hours apart.
Yes.
Practically neighbors.
Exactly. I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you for inviting me, Lindsay.
I'm so grateful to have you, and your message and your work in the world is so important right now. So much of the Shift series revolves around some of the chronic modern challenges of life around stress and overwhelm and chronic illness. And your work in the world is really an antidote to those things in many ways. And yet you have intimate knowledge of what it means to have experienced health challenges. So I'm super, super excited to hear your perspective and wondering if you could tell a little bit about your story and what brought you to the work that you're doing.
Thank you. So, where to begin? It's a long story, but I will do my best to keep it focused. So I call myself a happiness artist, and really that just means that I want to help women, especially really ambitious women who want to do great things in the world, remember how to love themselves and choose happiness for themselves so that they can then really love the people around them and cultivate happiness to share with the greater good and with everyone in the world, really. So I came to this for many reasons, but in relation to wellness, mostly because my whole life I've dealt with wellness challenges. Okay. When I was an infant, about 3 months old, I was hospitalized with a severe kidney infection. And I remember the story of my mom telling me how they had to put a needle in my forehead and because all my veins were just too dehydrated. And I don't remember that in my conscious mind, but I know, like, from the beginning, my body kind of had to deal with dis-ease. Yeah. And as a child, I always felt like, oh, why me? But once I grew into an adult, I realized, thankfully, it's me, because now I know how to take better care of my body and also to deal with the medical system. And it has inspired me to look for ways outside of traditional Western medicine to nurture myself, nourish my body, ease my mind, and feel good. So there's so much in my life that has led me to this point, and I feel like I'm constantly evolving and growing and learning more, but that was kind of the beginning.
And it's huge. So how does this mindset piece fit in? Because I think sometimes people seek out full circle wellness and chronic wellness tools for an explanation of how they can simply put chronic illness or stress or overwhelm behind them. The truth is sometimes we're finding tools for our toolbox of how we can live an on-path, fulfilled, happy life in light of the challenges that we face.
Yes, exactly. That I used to think, oh, okay, well, one day I'm just going to fix myself and it's going to be all better, but that's not, in my experience, what it really is. For me, it's more about, okay, how can I get to the place of ease and prevention so that I don't get to that point of burnout to where my body has to respond and like scream at me with pain or physical challenges. Yeah. So when I mentioned my kidney infection as a baby, I had urinary issues throughout my childhood and then as well into my adulthood. And I realized recently that a lot of those have to do with like where my mind is.
Interesting.
So for me, as far as, for example, urinary tract infections, it's really important for me to stay in a place out of anger, like not letting anger sit in me. And so for me, the way that looked, it was not like outbursts or screaming or throwing things, it was stonewalling. And it was like letting a feeling of sadness or frustration turn into anger and like building these ridiculous invisible walls around myself and just like burying myself in anger. And that rigidity and frustration that I didn't even realize was anger. Yeah. But lately, as I'm releasing those feelings of anger and that stonewalling habit that just can really hurt ourselves and our relationships, I'm noticing so much more ease, like in my urinary health and in my physical well-being. So I see very clearly that the connection between what I'm thinking, how I'm feeling, manifests all the time in my body.
So much so. So Before we move on to kind of more about the happiness itself, actually, let's talk about that stonewalling, that anger thing, because I don't think you're alone in that. I think it is a fairly common trait of women who are busy trying to do good work in the world, maybe a little bit conflict averse, to try to rise above and keep going. But what it can manifest in the body is this thing of actually pushing down and what you're calling stonewalling. Tell me a little bit about what you see in working with women around that phenomenon. I'm guessing we're not alone in that.
No, I don't think we are.
Yeah.
And I feel like I see that very often. And generally, what I observe is that stonewalling happens in relation to the closest person to us, like our romantic partner. You know, whether that's a spouse or a lover or, you know, whatever it is. But it's almost like wanting to cut that person out, for me at least, like just completely putting this block between me and that person because I feel like I can't even deal without being angry. Like I'm afraid of being angry, and so I make this wall, and then the anger just kind of like stays within instead of just being fully expressed.
Right, totally.
So what I find is especially challenging but incredibly rewarding is at the time of feeling hurt or upset or frustrated, or when something happens that I feel like will make me angry, I'm doing my best to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
And really be aware of, okay, Denise, you're feeling really sad or you're feeling hurt, and letting myself feel vulnerable and letting that person know, listen, I feel hurt from this interaction, or I feel sad about this interaction, and not expecting them to change or not expecting them to do anything different, but just changing myself, changing the way I'm responding. And then it kind of frees me to not have to hold on to it anymore and not walk around with this like tight jaw and like, you know.
That is a symptom. That's an indicator anyway, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And so that thing of beginning to be aware of our feelings and our emotions and really being willing to look at anger, it becomes connected to, well, you're about to say something. Yeah.
So the willingness.
Yeah.
It's huge. You have to be, or I had to be willing to want badly enough to feel differently.
Yeah.
To like get to that point of pain where I'm like, I don't want to feel like that all the time. I don't want to have to like hold myself rigid in this little castle of supposed protection.
Right.
You know? I want to feel free and I want to feel relaxed. I want my jaw to feel easy. I want to feel heard. I want to be free to communicate what I'm feeling and know that it's okay. And it's okay if I feel sad or if I feel hurt. It's okay. You know?
Totally. So it's like a progression between giving yourself the space to see how you are feeling, to acknowledging what the need or want is, and then you're moving into the space where you're granting yourself permission. Somewhere in that progression comes this sweet spot you're talking about around self-care and that preventative piece. How does that play in? And how can women move into that space of self-care?
Well, like you said, I think the first step is awareness for any change that we want to make in our lives. So as we become aware that our bodies are talking to us or our minds are talking to us, having the desire to want something different, and then seeking out support, whether that is listening to these interviews or finding a mentor to work with individually or reading books or talking to friends or people in your community that feel and do the things that you want to do. Like finding the guidance that's right for you, you know? And so I think that self-care is so personal and so individualized, and like what looks like self-care to me may not be self-care to you or the next person. So I think it's so important for us to find what feels right for us, that we feel like this cocoon of support, and that we feel like our lives are flowing with ease, and that we're freaking excited when we wake up, you know, and that we feel grateful when we go to bed, and that during the day we give ourselves opportunity to check in and notice what's happening for ourselves and give ourselves permission to take a break if we need it, you know, whether that's like 2 minutes to take a child's pose on the floor or to go and read like a page from an inspirational book or to sit and drink a cup of water, like keeping it simple and making it totally personal, I think is the key to really sticking with this like discipline of bliss that is self-care.
Ooh, I love that. So discipline of bliss, that's the goal. And you've summed it up with your title of happiness artist. What is your definition of happiness?
Right now, what changes for me over time.
Yeah.
Right now, for me, happiness is feeling at ease in my mind.
Yeah.
Loving my body, no matter what, right where I am. And feeling inspired, not required to live and do and be whatever it is that I choose.
So true. So all of those things resonate with me. I would like toss them in the basket too, like freedom to make choices that are right for myself and my family. Like there's all these things that start to fill this beautiful basket of happiness. Why do you think happiness has become kind of a taboo word? Why do we actually contract from the word happiness as if it's some unattainable goal? It seems like it should be a birthright.
Yeah, I agree, totally. I think there's a couple pieces to that. I think, first of all, especially for women in our culture, there's a lot of guilt around happiness, and especially if you're a woman who has children, it's almost like we are expected to always prioritize our little babes in front of ourselves.
Right.
And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's what I observe in our society, and I think that women, mothers especially, are not always encouraged to give themselves the care that they need and deserve, you know?
Yeah.
I really believe in community and in like sisterhood and in support, and I feel like that's a piece that's really missing in our culture as far as women and mothers, that we're kind of like encouraged to almost like separate ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think that all plays into whether or not we can feel happy. Because when we allow ourselves to be surrounded by other women who lift us up and remind us that we're okay and that everything is possible, it helps us feel like more rooted to the earth and more connected to the sky and just like aligned.
Yeah.
You know? So I feel like there's this kind of distorted sense of what women are quote unquote allowed to do and feel in our society. And I'm not endeavoring to place blame on anybody. I'm just hoping to kind of raise awareness and encourage women specifically that their joy influences not only their own lives, but, you know, creates the weather in their homes.
Oh, yeah.
It impacts everybody that they come into contact with, which creates ripples of happiness and lightness and peace on the planet.
Oh, totally. You've touched on something that is so near and dear to my heart. I know you know this, which is the sisterhood and the co-creation, because these are things that may not have been modeled for us. They may not have things that any generation prior to us has really been able to grant themselves permission to claim.
Yeah.
And so there is such an important element to surrounding yourself with positive circles, to calling in a coach or a mentor to help you see the areas where you could invite more ease or support. In the interview that we're posting below, you mentioned the importance of asking for help and how few women are used to identifying a need and asking for help. So those are all so important. How do you help shine that light for women in your work around what they need and where to ask for help and that permission piece you're talking about?
Yes. Well, I think the whole thing of asking for help is that we have this idea that we have to do everything ourselves, which comes from you know, and support.
Yeah.
And as far as the women that I work with, really what I want to help them do is to get clear about their heart's desires. You know, to like wade through all the layers and all the clutter that have kind of been built up over their lives about what they should do, what they're expected to do, what they need to do, and really get clear on what do I want to do?
Yeah.
What do I want? You know, and I mean, I have clients and friends who like don't even know what they want to eat for dinner because so long they've been just following their partner and doing what's right for them. You know?
Right.
Like simple things.
Right.
You know, like what book do I want to read? What do I want to eat? What will feel good for me today? So starting with like those basics, moment by moment, how do I want to feel? Yeah. You know, totally inspired Danielle Laporte, you know, the desire map, amazing. Like getting clear on our desires, I think is an essential piece on helping women feel empowered to actually do what they want to do and fully embody like the life that they are in this world.
So true. So true. That piece of knowing what you want and allowing yourself to craft how you want to feel.
Yeah.
So I know that you live this. You are raising little ones and you are running a business. And so I'm really curious about, we call them core routines. What core routines do you have built around you that help support you in crafting those moments of how you want to feel so that you can show up and be the conscious mama wife that you want to be and also do the self-tending?
Yes. Core routines are so vital and important, and mine have shifted over time. My babies are now 8 and 4, so it's very different than when, I had a newborn.
Yeah.
So one of my essential core routines, which is amazing now, is that my baby girl, who's 4, we still have a family bed, so she sleeps with mama and daddy. And when she wakes up in the morning, we do snuggles, and then she'll get up and play for a little bit on her own for like 20 or 30 minutes because she knows mommy wants to meditate. So it's amazing that I get to have this little peaceful time. And I just stay in bed and meditate. I just lay in bed and I meditate and I focus on how I want to feel for the day.
Oh, nice.
I, give appreciation. I think about all the things that I'm loving and that I want to allow to flow into my life. Just having that foundation, even if it's only 5 or 10 minutes. If it's a short one, that's okay too. But just before I even move my body out of bed, I get clear. And that has changed everything for me. Other core routines is that I love to write. I journal regularly. I journal to myself. I have journals for my babies. I have a journal for my husband. So there's a lot of focus on how I feel and how much I appreciate them, how much I love them, which helps in the day-to-day activities dealing with challenges.
Yes.
And then as far as my business, I feel so grateful that my mom, who's amazing, she is retired now, and she lives close by, and we've stayed close by so that we can have her support. And not babysits, but she nurtures my girls on Thursdays so that I can do my work.
Oh, so wonderful.
Yes. And then, also, I have a radical homeschool community of other brilliant mamas who are homeschooling their children, and they mutually fill me up, and I inspire them, and we collaborate and share challenges and share the celebrations, and I feel so supported by women in my life right now, and my husband of course too. He totally supports my family. That's without saying. But when I was a teenager, I never knew that it was possible really to have this kind of feeling of such love and support in my life.
Do you see women contracting away from that when they first start to experience support? Is it?
Sometimes.
I've noticed this thing of even after we take the first step sometimes, then maybe the next piece of the journey gets into that, it's the beyond the awareness and the actually, can you claim it, receive it, and feel like you deserve it, maybe.
The whole deserving, am I enough?
Am I enough? Yeah.
That's huge.
Right.
That's a big mindset shift that we have to deal with.
Yeah.
Well, most of us, at least, definitely need, oh man, yeah.
Yeah.
Feeling like it's okay to receive it, and that it's okay to, feel this much abundance in our lives, really.
Absolutely. So you touched on another really important topic, which is if we're ready to claim happiness as a birthright and then craft these moments that make a lifetime that are in alignment with how we want to feel, something pretty magical and miraculous happens around us as we connect with others. And it has to do with this planet we walk on. Talk to me about the connection there, because for me it's one of the most important whys of the work that we're doing, is not just supporting the people who walk on this earth, but the earth itself and all that it gives to us.
Yes. Huge. Oh my gosh, I have so much to say about that. Let me get clear.
Let me just say while you're thinking how, for people who don't know, we got to be in a beautiful circle together just last week, and women did take off their shoes and did put their feet on the earth and did get to circle around under, a almost fully dark new moonish sky. And it isn't something that we all get enough of in our lives, but it's so powerful. I'm always saying to people, take your core routine. If you're to do something, take your core routines and add nature, and you'll be amazed how meditation plus nature or breath work plus nature, it's a powerful thing, and I know it's a passion of yours.
Yes, very much it is. So when I first started my business about almost 2 years ago, I just wanted to write and inspire people. I just wanted people to start loving themselves so that they could really love something greater, which for me that I want everybody to care about is our Mother Earth, like the environment, thinking about and living in a way that our great-great-great-great-grandchildren and the great-great-great-great-grand offspring of the creatures of the planet will have a sustainable, sacred space to grow and thrive.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
And I realized for a while I was just kind of like on the bandwagon, like, you got to do this, we got to save the earth, you know? And I came against so much resistance because so many people are not quite ready to hear that or to do those things. And I realized that the only way that I can change anything is by changing myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, what if I can try to inspire people to start loving themselves more and create more space in their lives to love something that's kind of beyond them. Mm. So I feel like everything is connected, and I feel like the more that we love ourselves, the more care that we give to the people we interact with, the more care we give to the environment around us, the more we care, really, about anything.
Yeah.
And I think that's I believe that there's consciousness shifting, and I believe that people are waking up and realizing that we can't take things for granted, and that we do need to care about this home of ours, you know, and the creatures on it, and that what we do to ourselves, we do to everything else, and what we do to everything else, we're doing to ourselves.
Absolutely.
So, yes, more yes to nature, more yes to having our feet on the earth and feeling connected to everything, because that's how we, like, stay in alignment and really allow ourselves to feel at ease and connected.
Yeah.
You know, it's what everybody wants, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Neil deGrasse Tyson, you know, the astrophysicist, he's brilliant and inspiring to me. And he has this little 3-minute clip about the most astounding fact. And it's, every time I watch it, I cry because I'm just so moved by his reminder that we all just want to feel connected.
Yeah.
You know, and the more that we connect with ourselves, the easier and more free we feel to connect with other people.
Oh, yeah. It's that expansion, creating more space for it. Yes. Well, it's so clear that that's what you are activating in all of us and in your clients too. Tell us where we can find you and learn more about your work in the world.
Thank you.
Yes.
You can connect with me at DeniseDare.com. And Dare, just like it sounds, pretty sweet last name. Before I got married, I was like, I'm not taking anybody's last name. And then I met my husband, and everything changed.
It's a good one.
Dare, that is actually my last name, .com. And of course, you know, on Twitter and Facebook, I'm Denise Dare 43.
Okay.
And 43 does have a meaning. I love numbers. 43 actually means love you.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Has some numerology? Is that from numerology?
It's actually like a little code that my daughter and I use.
I love it.
For the, you know, love has 4 letters and you has 3 letters.
I love that. A little code.
Yeah, love you. That's the whole idea. Love yourself, love each other, love our mother.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing. Well, it's been an absolute blessing and pleasure to spend this time with you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Lindsay. It's been amazing. I so appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.